This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing one of the world-renowned directors of education. If you don't know him by now, you're going to know him well when we're done here. Jeremy Strom, Reaxing, welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thank you, Pete. Super grateful to be here. Look forward to talking about Reaxing and ways that, we really can impact people going forward.
Yeah, so look, you've worked at a laundry list of big brands in the health club industry, kind of consulting with them on their programming, on their personal training, on how they should run their operation. So talk about what brought you to Reaxing, maybe give people a definition that this is like a neuroscience and this is kind of like training for the unpredictable or actually training for life. I really like that video you guys did, that commercial on the About Us section of your site, which we'll have as a link here. But it's kind of a new way to think about results and staying healthy and be able to do things that you might want to do outside the club. So give us a little, preamble on that, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, so I think, the greatest opportunity with Reaxing and really what drove me to join this team is I've always been an early adopter of certainly tech and most definitely of ways that we can biohack. I know that's a sort of a niche word and a little bit cliche today. And the reality is, from a training standpoint, implementing Reaxing and the ability to provide unpredictable stimuli is really what lights the brain up, right? So, for me, having been blessed to work in over 50 countries, 30 states with very big brands and brands that have changed the way people move and the way people train, this really is my greatest opportunity to affect change with how people move. And so, from a Reaxing standpoint, our philosophy is provide unpredictable stimuli that allows for quicker response, quicker reaction time, and resiliency. The greatest part about being human is the opportunity to move and have energy that is next level, right? You hear about all the greats out there, the David Goggins, the Laird Hamiltons, the Gabrielle Reese, those people that really have opened and increased the ceiling of what is possible physically. And that's really where Reaxing wants to live. So I always liken it like the brain is Wi-Fi, and the brain's ability to communicate with the body is like Wi-Fi's ability to do anything on your phone or on your computers or whatever. And so normally most of us walk around with your brain at 3G level of communication to the body. Well, when you utilize and implement Reaxing products, it lights the brain to 5G communication. And that communication now allows us to respond to what the machine is doing and implement full system from the brain to the big toe out to the middle fingers in such a way that more tissue is lit up, more reactive time. The reactive time is faster, and you're able to now handle those situations out in the real world.
All right, should we just stop the podcast here? Because that was probably the best analogy and explanation I've heard about an innovative technology and liking it to Wi-Fi, where I'm like, okay, man, I get it. So we'll keep talking for another 15, 20 minutes, but I just say that you've cracked the code to me on what you guys are doing and the products. And then it sounds like the results are data driven, and you can actually see that, whether it's in a win, whether it's in that actual, position and move that's been done, or just like you could just nod your head and say, like, you've never done that before in that speed and actually recovered, where somebody did. I fill up what is like, these kids drive these, like, I don't know what they call it, hovercrafts or something. So I went to one of my clients, the 10-year-old kids, like, hey, try this out, right? So I tried it out. I fall flat on my ass, but thankfully I had been doing a specific workout it was like mostly like cycling and squats. So when I hit the ground, like my body was ready for it. Yeah. Or else I'd probably, be in like a wheelchair for like 3 and recover from that. So, when you think about the incumbents in the space and you say, hey, look, we're going to run a treadmill. Here's the treadmill operators, how much are we going to take share of that through education? You take a look at the board, which I think is more, very innovative. That really doesn't have a competitor. And then when you get into some of the light therapy related components, there's a lot of noise out there. Red light, do I use a face mask? Do I use a whole board? So talk about you making the jump here, which is a big deal, to be working a Reaxing, and where do these products kind of slot themselves in?
Got it. Yeah, so I think, the place for Reaxing really across the board, from health and fitness, general mom and pop clubs to big chains, to physical therapists, to this Parkinson's and neural disorder genre of, how do we light the body up from a brain standpoint, a brain body communication. So I really think where we fit in is a number of places. I think the Reax Run, which is our treadmill that provides perturbation, right, or unpredictable environment, really touches base and can be implemented into any area that you would put a typical or traditional treadmill.
Correct.
So it is a treadmill. It has incline, it has decline, but it also has lateral shift as well, which is what makes it unique.
And how is that priced versus, a Life Fitness treadmill, a Matrix, Peloton? Where do you guys fit in that price points?
Yeah, so from a price point, we're obviously more expensive, right? We are definitely a high-end product, both from how it's built, from what it does, and then certainly from how your body responds to it. So we would definitely be on the high end, more of a Woodway, high-level Woodway treadmill. That's where we would live.
And if you're a health club operator, or maybe some of the, you get pulled from actual experience here and sales, are there health clubs that are putting in, 25 Reaxings runs versus, 20 traditional treadmills, and that's, bulk purchase? Or are they saying like, hey, let's put one or two here, just like we kind of test out some new products? Like you don't have 20 Jacob ladders, you have probably one or two. But how do you guys look at that as like saturating or being inside of a location?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, we want the whole cardio space, right? We feel like we have an opportunity really to change the way people interact with treadmills. And the reality is, and certainly what would our experience to date would lead us to believe, is that we are more that niche. The free motion incline trainer, right? The Reaxing Run, certainly the high level Woodway, a Jacob's ladder, to your point. So we're seeing like 2 to 4 of the Reaxing Run treadmills. Where we are seeing a bigger placement, however, is the React Board, which does the same thing, only it doesn't have a treadmill deck. So this is really where we're really seeing this is in place of some of those other functional type pieces of equipment, and going into where, from an education standpoint, certainly the personal trainers, the physios are utilizing it to a higher degree on the general space or the general fitness floor.
So I'm wearing my US Open pickleball hat for a purpose. There's a big part of the population now of all ages that are playing pickleball. I think these 55 and over communities are the ones that are really going to become the driver of like consistent usage and participation, just because you got more time on your hands. You can meet people at different times. And it seems to be in the South Sun Belt, there's a significant amount of pickleball courts becoming, from a supply standpoint. If you take a look at training for pickleball, there was an article about like the healthcare costs rose like $450 million last year because of pickleball injuries. I'm like, well, there's probably $5 billion worth of benefit. So I'll take the 450 hit, if I get people actually talking to each other, getting out of their house, buying gear, like getting endorphins from winning. But I would think that if you get like attached Reaxing to that community, it's like, hey, look, this isn't like a combine training. Like there's specific things that you're doing from a movement standpoint and from a reflex standpoint that I feel like attaching Reaxing to pickleball or padel, padel, could be like super interesting avenue. Have you guys thought about that? Or are you currently doing things related to it?
Yes, absolutely. And, the article was interesting, and I was surprised that was the focus, that it was, such a cost to American healthcare versus, to your point, the obvious benefits, right? Where more people at that boomer age are moving today than ever in the history of sort of that age group.
I got to remind Gallant that I was going to write a counter to that article.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to write an article on that. Could you remind me? Maybe I'll get a quote from you, Strom.
Absolutely. Yeah. We responded pretty strongly, because the reality is, and certainly where Reaxing and Reaxer, you mentioned some of the accessories, the Fluey, which is our medicine ball that has fluid in it, and our chain, those are really great starting places for pickle or pedal athletes.
Yeah.
It's a lower access point from a cost standpoint, and it allows some of this shoulder, hip, ankle connection that article sort of brought up where the challenges are
Yeah.
coming from. So I think there's a tremendous gateway through Reaxing and Reaxer products that will bring some of those costs down just from an injury standpoint, but also from a resilience, so a prehab standpoint, right?
Sure.
Our goal at Reaxing is to prevent you from getting there. And while you're in that playing pickleball or while you're in your sport, if you just supplement Reaxer or Reaxing products and or training, this is going to just enhance both your game, your fitness, and then your resilience to injury.
Got it. Two quick questions. One, when was the company founded, and where are you guys based out of?
So Reaxing International was founded in 2016 in Milan, Italy. The company actually started a product prior to that in 2010 called Queen Axe. It was a big frame functional system, which they sold to Precor, and then moved into Reaxing. We started Reaxing North America 14 months ago, and our North American, we're partners of Reaxing International. Our North American headquarters are in Simi Valley, California.
Gotcha. Okay, do you know where the name came from?
So Reaxing is the ability to react. So RE is react, but axe is to accelerate benefits, right? So training from a neural or brain body standpoint accelerates your ability to respond to unpredictable stimuli out in the world or whatever you're doing, like pickleball.
I figured there was something philosophical or operational about it.
Absolutely.
I'll ask that question. Sometimes I don't like the answer. But I used to grow up on this street. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely founded in the technology and certainly in the philosophy of how to train and how to move within our product.
Gotcha. Let's go to a little personal lightning round here, just so we get to know you. One, you got morning workouts or night workouts?
Morning.
Comedy or drama?
It's funny. I know this is lightning, and I just had a conversation with Chris Fisher, who is our CEO. I suck at comedy. I want to be better, but drama.
Gotcha. Okay. You got OCD or just let things flow?
Depends on the scenario. General philosophy is let things flow.
Value or growth?
Value.
Love it. Cardio or strength? This is like a canned question, so it's got kind of putting you in an uncomfortable position right now. I apologize.
I'm a mountain runner, so I would say I'm strong in cardio.
Got it. Education or commercialization?
Education.
Nice. All right. Those are my lightning round. So, some of the things that you guys have started over the last 14 months, obviously, you know how long it takes to get a product known, to get it into market, to have people kind of kick the tires, and then to ask you, hey, Jeremy, I love what you're doing. Who did it before me? So I should,
yeah.
I'm not like the first guy to jump into anything. What would you say some of the, early wins are, or things that you're most excited about that you would say, hey, here's kind of like a prototype or a showcase for what's to come?
Yeah, so there's a lot of wins, and even though Reaxing North America is fairly new, 14 months, Reaxing International is really 7 years new. So, big wins are really from a Parkinson's standpoint. We have two, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, very highly successful neural disorder. The studios and clinics that have the Reax Run, the Reax Board, and the Reax One Infinity One, which is a combination of the Reax Run and Board. We're currently getting ready for the Naval Warfare Center, which is amazing. We have a great, big, beautiful facility on the East Coast in DC called XCal. Really, really tremendous opportunity. The LA Rams have the run, so that's very fun. So I think our wins really are across the board. For me personally, my father-in-law has Parkinson's. The work being done in that neural disorder and from a neural standpoint, I think is really, really next level. And you'll see some big changes coming forward from a protocol standpoint.
Mm-hmm. So, as you think about, when you think about Parkinson's, you talk about, there might be some grants that are out there. There might be some programs that you guys could participate in. Probably long term, it makes sense to be connected to those programs, albeit it's a very big time and resource, obligation, I think, for someone, to be part of these types of trials and data and the back and forth. It doesn't really show up in revenue. So, when you there's also kind of like an entrepreneurial, back and forth here. But, when you kind of say like, okay, look, I've got, we just got this 14 months ago. I want to put as many wins up on the board as possible. I also want to kind of set the stage like, hey, we're kind of built into like the solution here. How do you think about that? Or what's like your gut reaction to somebody saying, hey, we're going to invest in, public company would say, I got to invest in like this next quarter's earnings. I also got to invest in like next year's. So how do you think about that? And also coming from your educational, purity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think from a research standpoint, the great part about research is you really find some truths. The hard part about research is by the time that research is published and accepted among research geeks, certainly like myself, anecdotally, we've already surpassed that information, right? So I think what's really powerful today is the partners and the collaborations that we're involved in today really is driving what we can do today, which then sets up our foundation for what we can do long term. So for us, it's more about how do we provide an opportunity for people to think differently today that will sustain us financially tomorrow and beyond.
When you take a look at your business, you could argue that I'm actually marketing to the consumer and I'm also marketing to the business owner and operator, which is kind of like your and Chris's background anyway, the bricks and mortar side of it. But it's almost like the demand might actually come from the consumer or like a Parkinson's group or like newsworthy things that have happened and now kind of convinces the health club like, hey, this isn't really just a piece of equipment with a brand on, it's actually a program and actually has like a cluster or like a demo that we actually want in here. It's kind of an interesting like flywheel that could evolve or maybe already has, or I don't know, there's some interesting things that might happen, I feel.
No, it's really insightful on your part. And I think from an education standpoint, we also see it that way. Chris is, he would tell you he's an accidental businessman and he's very, very smart. He partnered with very high level personal trainers. And that's how he built his business over 30 years. He has another business in the fitness industry as well, is through that sort of B2C first layer, right? These high level trainers are communicating and utilizing this new equipment for people who have a lot of eyes on them. And that's how it sort of granularly has grown. And I think Reaxing really fits that model as well. But one thing you mentioned that I think is really important is, we are absolutely interested in collaborating with, all of these things and not adverse to providing products and then just telling the truth, right?
Right.
We don't want to pay to play. We don't want to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Researcher, here's our product. Here's what we would like to prove. We want to provide our product, have them do what their specialty is, and then tell us the truth. And then we'll go from there, right? So from a consumer standpoint, super cliche to say, oh yeah, let's sell a whole bunch of Reaxer products, the Fluey, the Kettle, and the Chain, and then, buy all the rest of our stuff. We want to know the truth. We want people to use it and tell us what they're experiencing, and we'll build education from that point.
Got it. So I got two follow-up questions related to that. One is there a personal training certification in Reaxing, or is there trainers that are, attuned to provide workouts for this? And then from a consumer standpoint, are you selling bundles to people who have a home gym?
Yeah. So to answer your first question in regards to sort of fitness professional certification, there is today. It's run by our international team. And I'm now sort of massaging it for the North American market. So there is certification. It will be credentialed, meaning they'll be able to get CECs on it. And then the second part is, yes, we have bundles, Reaxer.com, ReaxerXX.com. We have bundles that will also have sort of YouTube-based programming around it, depending on your sport. Pickleball being,
Right.
our first outlay. Running our second. That's sort of my passion and Chris's passion as well. So, and obviously a big sport. Cycling, of course, and then we'll get into some of those, the other sports. But from a bundle standpoint, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, great, man. Well, look forward to seeing you at the next trade show in person, or getting together with Chris here on the West Coast. I think we could open up some doors and some interesting tertiary markets. Dave, I'm thinking about your buddy, our friend in Taiwan with some of his 55 and over communities, as well as other areas. So let's be in touch. We'll get this up on the platform, and hopefully it leads to people reacting inside and outside the club and doing some cool things that they didn't think they could do anymore.
Amazing, Pete, Dave. Thank you both so much. Super grateful.
You got it, man.